Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Tribe Talk. We have a very special guest with us today. Dr. V is actually on the road traveling, so she'll be joining us again next week for our episode. But today we're joined by Jennifer Hart, and all of us here at Modern Holistic Health really love Jennifer. She's one of our clients that we've worked with for more than a year already, and she's going to share her incredible story with us today, her healing journey. Now, Jennifer is a former high school English teacher turned PhD student, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And her healing journey actually inspired her to return to school to study post-traumatic growth, which is incredible. So Jennifer's a wife and a mother of 2 grown kids. She enjoys gardening and being outdoors, painting and cooking. Jennifer, it's good to see you, and we're so happy that you're sharing your story with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Wonderful. So kind of take us to the beginning. What was it that brought you to us to start with? How are you feeling? What were you going through at that time?
Well, this healing story begins with a move to a new city. My husband got a job, and I probably was not aware at the time how sick I was. And the opportunity of the move allowed me to get to this new place and start looking for doctors, right? That's one of the first things you have to do. So in my other city, I had at least 4 doctors. I had an internal medicine doctor, I had a cardiologist, an OBGYN, and an allergist. And they all contradicted one another with what they thought I should be taking as far as medicine. And so in this new move, I thought, I want something different. I want to just try this holistic path and see if I could get a big picture of what was going on with my health.
Wonderful. I know. I remember. I remember when we first started with you, and how that's what we hear from a lot of our clients is they have this confusion because they've seen other doctors and been told this over here and then this over there. And it's a lot of our clients come to us really confused about what's the next step for me. What should I be doing?
Right. Well, when I first saw Dr. V, I think I got sicker with the move, actually. So I had this high stress job and then stopped all of a sudden, and the fatigue was bad. I had no energy. I had abdominal pain and back pain, insomnia, anxiety, allergies, brain fog, the whole list. And that is one of those things, it's hard to go to a doctor and say, here's everything, let's get going. But I felt like with Dr. V, it was just such an easy transition. She started with, well, let's do this blood panel. And then she spent at least an hour with me going over the results of that first blood panel. And I've never had a physician do that to show me how the results were related. One number was related to another number and how it all made sense.
Yeah, education is a big thing for us here at Modern Holistic Health. I know Dr. V is very, very big on education, on letting our clients know what it is you're seeing on the test and how that relates to what's happening in your body. And you being able to walk away with that knowledge then is really important for you later on. If something comes up and you just don't feel right, or you have these other symptoms, then you have this knowledge of what it could be, or what I might need testing wise. And I know we did a lot of testing on you. Talk a little bit about what we found. I know we were dealing with some toxins and some infection and things like that.
That's true. In the very first blood panel, she realized that my thyroid was low and that I had some really serious adrenal problems happening, and there were signs of malnutrition. So we had to figure out what was going on in my gut first. And we started pretty quickly with some supplements that I basically wasn't absorbing certain vitamins. And so all of that education, now I know there are certain supplements that I will always need and need to watch those numbers on blood panels. So that was the first thing. And then another test that proved to be pretty important was she did a gut health check, and I had a high E. coli count. And of course, I had no idea. I didn't even know you could live with a high E. coli count, but I don't know how long that had been there. And I do know that I had been sick in prior years and had antibiotics, and probably all of the good gut bacteria had just been decimated, and I was in really bad shape in terms of my gut health.
Yeah, you were really like a prime example of how a gut issue can really, spiral over the years and start to affect all these different other parts of your body. It was affecting your hormones and how you were sleeping and, physical pain in places of the body. And so, talk a little bit about, what it was like in that year of correcting these issues or reversing these issues. I know a lot of people come in with this mentality like, oh, I'm going to take these supplements for a couple weeks or a couple months and then everything's going to be great. Talk a little bit about the length of your journey and what it was like to go through the highs and lows.
All right, well, it's been 2 years. I started with Dr. V almost 2 years ago in October. And the very first thing that we did was cut out all the food that could possibly be harming me. So cut out meat, cut out dairy, corn, soy, all those things. And I had to learn how to eat again, eat clean. And I think that gave me some sense of having control over what was happening. This was something that I could do as I watched and waited for the other things to happen, all the supplements to kick in and do their work. But that's not an easy lifestyle change to make, especially when you have family in the house who are wanting to eat other things.
Yeah, that's always one of the really challenging steps for people is that having the support there is so important. And I know you have a wonderful family, you had the support there with you, but for a lot of people, it's the support that they're lacking. And that's where really working with a team and working with a lot of coaches is really helpful. And you were amazing in the changes that you made, working with you were so dedicated, every time we would talk or you would meet with one of the other doctors or coaches, you were always so positive. And I think that was a big part of your healing was you just had this positive energy and you knew it was going to happen for you. You were just, patiently doing what you needed to do to make that happen. Talk a little bit about how your life is different now than when you first started. What is your health like now? How are you feeling, every day?
Well, I think one of the most devastating things to endure is loss of energy and the brain fog. When my brain chemicals were off because of my gut health, and that affected anxiety, it affected memory, it just all kinds of things. I didn't feel like myself. And so when you're in that process of trying to restore everything, it's very uncomfortable not to know what's coming next. And I mentioned that not to have energy to exercise makes the brain chemical part awful as well, because you lose motivation. You lose motivation to get up in the morning. You lose motivation to exercise, to take care of yourself, all of that. And so I would say in the worst of it, just not feeling like yourself and not knowing where you're headed, how things are going to end, not having the energy to do much about it. That's pretty much was the worst of it.
Mm-hmm. And so
But I would
talk a little bit about how you feel now as opposed to then. How are your energy levels now? You look vibrant. I know you're out there doing amazing things right now. Talk a little bit how you feel now.
Well, to have that energy level back and a little bit of clear thinking, it makes all the difference. Gratitude, that sense of gratitude for, oh, this is what health feels like. I don't ever want to take that for granted. And just really appreciate what good food tastes like and what being with family tastes like, what it feels like to go out and have a brisk walk with a dog. All of that is just so much more meaningful contrasted to what it felt like before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. So talk a little bit about what you're doing now. I know you were really inspired by your own healing journey, and you've actually gone back to school now to get your PhD. Talk a little bit about what you're studying and how this has been part of your journey.
Well, I remember the first appointment I had with Dr. V, and she asked me about if I had if I had lived through any trauma in my life. And this was something that I had lived through trauma, and I had had therapy, talk therapy, for more than 10 years, actually. It was something that I worked on for a long time. But it surprised me that she would ask me, did I have trauma in my life? And somehow she could tell that that was something that had affected my adrenals. My stress level chemicals were a little off the charts. And so in that very first session, she gave me the name of someone she wanted me to work with. And I started working with Rosita. And so that whole other aspect of the emotional well-being made a huge difference. And I really have learned that trauma, if it goes unresolved, trauma stays in your body at the tissue level, at the organ level, at the cellular level. And just because I had had talk therapy didn't mean that I had completely resolved the trauma from my body. So 20 years later, here I am, working on this new phase of working out this trauma. And I think that's the part of my journey that made me ask questions. I wanted to know more about that. How does trauma stick with us, and what can we do to stay alive physically, emotionally, spiritually, if we've suffered through trauma?
That's incredible. I really admire that you're taking, this part of your own journey and now going to be able to help other people understand that aspect. And for those of you who are watching who don't know who Rosita is our mindset coach here at Modern Holistic Health. She is incredible. She does just what Jennifer explained. She helps people work through past traumas in life, and how that resonates with the healing journey. For a lot of people, for many people, it's those past traumas that, not addressing those is the missing link for a lot of people's healing journey. That's the one thing holding them back from physical healing. And so, here at Modern Holistic Health, we're really big on the body, mind, spirit, addressing all of those things. And I know Rosita is going to be so thrilled to learn that you're taking this part of your own healing journey and now going to be able to pay it forward. What are your plans once you're done with school? What do you want to do with this new, these new skills that you're learning?
Well, I'm early in my process. I'm about to finish my first year in transpersonal psychology, a PhD in transpersonal psychology. And a lot of people don't know what that degree is. I'm studying at Sophia University in Palo Alto, California. I'm doing their online program. But in a nutshell, transpersonal psychology really is where psychology meets spirituality, growth, peak experience, creativity, just the whole human experience. And in one of my classes not long ago, something that just really stuck with me was an American Indian belief that illness tells a story. And as a former literature teacher, I love the idea of story and how we can learn from it. And so I think as I finish my degree, I love doing research. I'm learning how to do that right now. And I will probably research and write, but I want to help people learn from their story and learn to tell their story to help other people. So that's my goal.
That's incredible. I know you're going to be really successful at that because you have such a shining light that we see come through. And so, I love that you're helping other people make that connection. Something that someone told me earlier this year has stayed with me, and it reminds me of what you said. When you're talking about a healing journey and being on that journey, it's tough when you're in that journey, when you keep asking yourself, how much longer is this going to take? Am I actually getting better? Am I ever going to feel as good as I want to feel? We all ask ourselves those questions when we're on our own healing journey. And something someone said to me earlier this year, your body is here to teach you a lesson. And that has stuck with me. And that really made me stop and pause and think. A lot of us women especially, when we're on this healing journey, we get frustrated with ourselves. We get upset at ourselves. We criticize ourselves. That doesn't help when we're on this healing journey, that negative self-talk and that negative energy. And so stopping for a minute to really think about working through all these things is part of the journey, and it's necessary. And I'm so happy that you're doing this work now, and you're going to be helping so many other people moving forward. Let me ask you this, Jennifer. What would be your advice to someone who is not feeling their best? Maybe they're at the beginning of their journey. They're looking for wellness. They want to get well and feel better. What would be your advice to them about getting started, about being able to endure the process?
I think it's really important to have that support team around you. Like you said, I mean, you all have a whole team of people who can provide that support, but to have someone in your daily life, to have more than one actually, a group of people around you who can remind you who you are when you don't feel like yourself, especially if those brain chemicals are off and the anxiety is getting you, really just to have that relational aspect of, we're going to get through this. We'll help you get through this. I think that's everything, just that encouragement.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That support is so important. Well, Jennifer, we are so happy for you. We are thrilled that you're feeling so much better and you have all this energy, and you're putting your own journey out there for other people to hear and be inspired by. And we want to thank you for being here and for sharing, and stay in touch. We want to follow you on this journey. We want to see all the amazing things that you're going to do. We love you so much, and we're so happy that you're healthy and you're vibrant, and we're really proud of the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. You and Dr. V were such a big part of this phase of my journey. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to everyone watching and listening, thank you for being with us for this edition of Tribe Talk, and we will see you soon.